just earned yourself a dance with the devil boy.
Welp, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The most ridiculous Fast and Furious movie to date, and one that I can't help but feel a bit negative about. Despite loving the Fast franchise, there's something just, about how far F9 goes in its logic-defying action and globe-trotting super spy nonsense that just didn't sit right with me as a viewer, and I'd like to go ahead and work through that with you under the guise of the most unrealistic moments in the film. Mostly because I can't afford a good psychiatrist, and my job is YouTube. So, let's dig in.
Ready for this? Yeah.
First off, we gotta tackle the answer that F9 provides to the question we all had when that initial trailer dropped: how is Han alive? His death in Tokyo Drift, later given new context in Furious 6 and 7, was a major dramatic beat within the franchise. We all just wanted justice for Han, maybe with a fun little hashtag at the top, but when we said that, we were more thinking like, I don't know, somebody kicking Deckard Shaw's ass, which I guess we're getting, but still, instead, Jason Statham's villain has been given a bit of a righteous anti-hero rework that led to a less than thrilling spin-off with Dwayne I Like Cooking Fragrant Meals Johnson. Anyway, since Shaw is now a sorta good guy who also happens to enjoy beating the snot out of the funny Russian dude from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, we of course need some good old-fashioned retconning to make up for the fact that Han's killer was allowed to hang out at a rooftop barbecue like he's part of the family. So, how did Han survive? Well, cast all your complicated theories aside, Reddit, because the answer is, Mr. Nobody did it. That's it. Mr. Nobody just kinda did it. There's not actually a proper explanation given in the film, just a quick edit of Han disappearing from the car, followed by Mr. Nobody suggesting he's done better, without even the slightest nod to how it might have been done. Now, obviously, this is a bit of a joke about Mr. Nobody's insane level of omnipotence within the series, but damn guys, you're seriously just gonna reduce one of the most dramatic moments of the franchise to a dumb gag? That's pretty lame. Add to the fact that it's super unrealistic because there's no reason given, so I can't even critique it as realistic or not, but I'm gonna say it's unrealistic because he made Han disappear from a burning car, so that's all I got. Oh my god, moving on.
No, stop it! Please stop!
So I mentioned Hobbs and Shaw, and one thing that really stood out to me about the plot of F9, especially the first 15 minutes or so, was how much it didn't quite feel like a mission for our NOS-loving heroes. In fact, going on a rescue mission in the middle of the jungle to find Mr. Nobody just seemed like something for other agency agents, I guess, like Scott Eastwood's Doofus from Fate of the Furious, or the far more box office friendly duo of Hobbs and Shaw. Now, this is admittedly one of the less obtrusive lapses in logic for me. After all, our characters do wind up using their vehicles and would have even finished the mission successfully if it weren't for a rogue John Cena. And it could be argued Mr. Nobody sent them the message because he knew he could trust them, or I don't know, they were the first names in his contacts. Maybe he has like a little Rolodex on his desk, and it's just like Dom and Letty and maybe Roman in the far back. Anyway, it does start the film, however, with the feeling that the writers didn't care too much about whether the story made any sense, something that pervades the rest of the film. Heck, I'd even take the agency sending along some backup for Dom's gang, but nope, just a bunch of former street thugs retrieving a device that controls all the code in the world. Sure, that makes sense. Oh my god, why not just get Hobbs and Shaw? Come on! Actually, sorry to harp on the little things, but did anyone else think that the latest widget of mass destruction was just a tad too reminiscent of God's Eye in the previous installments? If you need a refresher, basically Deckard Shaw was pulling double duty in Furious 7 by both taking vengeance and stealing God's Eye, a device that basically has the ability to see through every camera in the world and search for a person in a matter of seconds. Hence, God's Eye. It was a dumb as rocks concept, but it had just enough basis in reality, coupled with a story that was just the right level of ridiculous, that it kinda worked within the context of the film. In F9, we got Ares, played not by David Thewlis, but rather a broken bisected disco ball. And see this chick? Yeah, the only way to make it work is to have her physically touch it because it's linked to her DNA. Yeah, that's dumb. That's very dumb. And I guess unrealistic. I'll be honest, I'm kind of losing the plot here as far as the video topic, but you get the idea. It's all silly. Anyway, Ares allows the user to control any weapon system in the world, making it basically the dumb cousin to God's Eye. Presumably the intention is to, I don't know, bring together both devices and maybe a third MacGuffin in one of the next two films, and create some kind of super villain antagonist for everyone to battle with Han and Shaw holding hands and whispering sweet nothings in a Lambo or something. Alrighty, we've gone long enough without talking about the other big, from the first trailer. John Cena as Dom's long-lost brother Jakob Toretto, aka the close kin of Dom, who we've never heard of up to this point, despite the fact that he's responsible for the death of their father, Jack Toretto, and vis-a-vis, Dom's stint in prison. That's, it's a lot of history to just kinda never bring up, huh? Admittedly, I didn't really care about the reveal that Dom had a secret brother. Heck, I'll be the first to admit that soap opera theatrics are a big draw of the series, but something about Jacob being the real cause of Jack's death and not Linder, and actually technically Jack being the cause of Jack's death, but that's really digging a little deeper than we need to. And Dom knowing this all this time, it doesn't feel right, you know?
It's always been me, the author of all your pain.
Obviously, the filmmakers couldn't go back and rewrite the previous references to that race or little beats dealing with Dom's daddy issues, but to tie it all in so directly while also making Jacob a super secret agent turned rogue feels very convenient, and therefore unrealistic. See, I'm doing it. I'm technically this is working for me, I think. Oh boy. And actually, I mentioned convenient. Convenient is a great word to describe one of my biggest issues with F9. It just seems like things sorta happen. The beauty of any movie franchise is that it's allowed to make its own logic. Films don't necessarily work within the confines of our reality. Instead, they craft their own, and we, the audience, accept that as the reality of any given property.
You'll get the idea.
For example, sure, Godzilla and King Kong are physically impossible in the real world. The way gravity and mass work, they basically present the weakest, most pathetic kaiju battle of all time, if they could even manage that much. But we love giant lizard on monkey action, and so we give their world that bit of logic, and then it works within those confines. The Fast and Furious franchise is an interesting subject because the internal logic has changed movie to movie, but it's done so in an incremental fashion, slowly building on each previous installment. In the original film, everything takes place in a reality that basically mirrors our own. There are some stunts that wouldn't quite work, and a street racing culture that definitely raises some questions, but overall, it makes sense. The next two followed that mold, never veering too far off course while also adding in more outrageous stunts and melodramatic moments, and 24-year-old high schoolers. In the fourth, confusingly titled film Fast and Furious, the series started angling toward more effects-driven action and higher-stakes plotting, and then Fast 5 gave us the world's most impractical heist, Part 6 features the soap operatic return of Letty, 7 of course features God's Eye, and that weird moment where Dom basically does a Hulk smash, and 8 brings in Discount Blofeld, and again humanizes a total POS murderer. Things escalated, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. But man, in F9 there's just no effort made in maintaining any of the logic of previous entries, which, let's be honest, weren't the most tightly written to begin with. Whether it's the get-out-of-jail-free Cardi B cameo, half-heartedly explained by her connection to Queenie as well as a character from Los Bandoleros of all things, Roman and Tej Sherlocking their way into the giant magnet van, or the Mexican flag Deus Ex Machina during the adventure in the soundstage next door, man, there's just so many coincidences that play out that it really bolsters my theory that the writing on this entry was given next to no thought. And man, that's sad. Okay, so let's dig into some moments that won't lead me down a path to Rantville, population me. This stunt Featured prominently in the trailers is just as dumb as the movie itself as it is here. This one does have some basis in previous antics, notably this wild moment in Fate of the Furious, but even then it just feels one step removed from the progression of the franchise's internal logic. How did Dom calculate this working? Is it just dumb luck? Actually, that leads me to the next one. Roman's survival theory. Oh boy, this is super contentious for me, because I actually got a kick out of Roman brainstorming his own potential immortality with Tej. It's a running gag that sort of pays off, undercut somewhat by a lame Minions joke. Basically, he notices that he's constantly getting shot at and surviving, in this instance due to a bulletproof vest that managed to absorb all the machine gun fire heading his way. Which, yeah, that's pretty nuts, and frankly, while this does count as a collection of unrealistic moments, it's also commenting in a self-aware fashion on the general insanity of the series. I'm not sure that this is the franchise for that kind of self-awareness, to be perfectly honest. In my opinion, not that you asked, the Fast and Furious films work best when they feign ignorance and just let the good times roll. If they did that, then I wouldn't have a problem with this weird magnet thing that just gets used again and again and seemingly has no rules. Sometimes it just attracts every piece of metal nearby, other times it'll only take a car and narrowly not murder all these poor citizens. You know, whatever, just who cares? It's just an action movie, who cares? No one cares. It's made for children. Hey, screw the fans. Sorry, I got ranty again. Okay, now then there's Dom's big fall, also featured prominently in the trailers. While from a script standpoint it does mirror an earlier conversation about Letty saving Dom's life in Furious 6, it also is just real dumb. Like, real dumb. How did he survive that fall? How did she manage to get him so fast? That's a mighty far jump to just dive down. Wait, how did he pull everything down? His weird Hulk stomp in Furious 7 was pretty silly, but I kind of chalk that up to a coincidence. But this is just too much. Of course, surface tension and falling debris aren't the only things our heroes are totally immune to. Cars. I'm referring to cars. Remember when Dom saves Letty in Fast and Furious 6 using the cushioned impact of a freaking car windshield? Yeah, that sort of nonsense has happened a few times throughout the series, but it's basically the theme of F9. People use cars like crash mats again and again and again, not to mention other solid objects that would have any normal human looking like an ill-fated exec in Ant-Man. I figure every Fast and Furious movie is allowed one or two moments of impossible car-on-human survival, but F9 just racks them up to a degree that saps the action of literally any tension, thereby making them kinda boring. And that goes for basically every single action sequence in this movie. It's just too unrealistic, all of them. All the action sequences are so unrealistic that it actually stops the non-stop thrill ride dynamics of the film from working. And that's not going to be for everyone. Some people will enjoy this. I know plenty of people who had a great time. But most of the people I talked to also said that this entire franchise is kind of stupid and bad. And as a fan who disagrees with that, who thinks that they are in fact, up to this point, reasonably intelligent, at least as far as, car heist movies go, and also really well made with solid action that really keeps you on the edge of your seat. Ugh. Anyway, let's talk about one last thing. Space. Yes, this is the Fast and Furious movie that finally went full meme and took that always hilarious, never tiring joke about going to space and made it actually happen. And hey, it's fine. But it also showcases Roman and Tej driving a Pontiac Fiero along Earth's orbit and crashing into a satellite, a moment so far removed from the reality of the previous entries that, while it's definitely entertaining thanks in large part to the chemistry between Tyrese and Ludacris, man, it just destroys any tension that was left in the action of the franchise. Of course, again, that's just my opinion. If you enjoyed F9, more power to you, and heck, let me know what you thought in the comments. I'd love to know how you felt with this latest entry in the Fast saga. And look, I know, I'm being a party pooper, but seriously, this entry was just lacking a certain something. The tension is gone, the characters are jokes of their former selves, and as I mentioned, the whole film is just one big meme. Who's going to cameo to rescue Dom next? Gritty